My name is Joyce.
Okay.
Before now, it was very complicated because I was doing a ton of things at the same time, especially when people ask me, what do you do? I would literally freeze because I would want to respond based on who they are, what they do, you get. So it was always very challenging. But now it's pretty easy. I just tell people that I'm a PR and comms professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that look like on a Monday morning, for example?
Monday morning, thankfully, I work from home. So I try not to get out of bed until maybe 7 a.m. Make my cup of tea, get out, turn on my laptop. I'll probably, have already made a to-do list for the week.
Yeah.
Maybe the day before or first thing that morning. And then, I just start really. I like to have tea in the mornings with water and all of that, and do that, work until 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Then I make my first meal, and I'll
you make
eat.
a bar during lunch or lunch?
No,
What do you make?
because I'm a type of person that if I eat heavy meals, I'd feel lethargic, so it's just pointless. Yeah, so I try to eat light things, maybe like a wrap or a sandwich or something. Yeah, just eat that and just take a break, then go back to work and all of that. But yeah, Mondays are pretty easy days. Mondays and Fridays are my favorite days of the week because they're always light, deliberately so. Going into the week, getting out of the week.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are usually like the ones. Who's going first?
You go first and then you can tell me about your move. When did you move to the UK?
When?
Yeah.
I moved here in September of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that was the year where it just felt like if I didn't leave Nigeria, I was going to explode. Yeah.
What were you in Nigeria at the time?
At the time in 2022, I had just started working as a product manager at a startup.
Okay.
And I had just started Renee. So it was a very pivotal year for me because I started that year and I said I wanted to change my life. I was just tired of all the things that I was doing and I wanted to change my life. And yeah, so that's what I was doing. So it was, and then I decided that I also wanted to study psychology, which in retrospect, it was crazy to have so many pivotal things happen in my life in 1 year. A lot of times I look back and I tell myself, maybe I could have gone to school 1 year later. Maybe I could have focused on, that career in product management, which honestly was knowledge seeking more than building a career, right? But also maybe I could have spent, more time with the agency before going to school because school literally takes up the most of your life and it was challenging, but I survived it. I did. But I eventually left my job in product management.
Okay.
And I think I tried to get a new job here. So I was working at an American startup.
Okay. When you were in Nigeria?
When I was in Nigeria, yes. And so I tried to get a job as a product manager here, but it just didn't make sense to me, right? So first things first, the reason why I worked with that startup is because they were building a product for Africa. So I'm so passionate about the African tech ecosystem. So working at a startup that was building for this market was it wasn't exciting. I also wasn't really getting opportunities. And I was like, you know what? I've been in PR and comms for the last 10 years of my life. What am I doing in product management? I've gotten the knowledge, skills that I, want. I think it's time to go back home. And then, I started looking out for PR and comms opportunities. and I got the one that I'm currently working at. I've been at that job for about 14 months now.
Okay.
And it's been amazing. And I love how it feels like my life is now streamlined because, you know, it's PR and comms only. And I just love it. Because I had to do a lot of context switching, you know, when I was working in product.
Because you were not just doing products.
Yeah, I was also doing public relations. And then when I'm in school, it's psychology. So it was just a lot. But with working in comms and PR, psychology plays a huge role in my work. It helps me understand and contextualize things better. So it just feels like everything is just flowing now and there's balance and
That's cool. So did you leave Nigeria with a student visa? What was the process like?
Yeah, it was a student visa. So at the start of the year, I started looking, you know, at schools and all of that. And I found a school, Ashton University, and I loved it.
Wow.
You know, curriculum was great. It's a reputable, you know, school, and it was in Birmingham. I really wanted to live in Birmingham because London was a no-no, right? Because this was me who was dying to leave Lagos.
Yeah, London is like this. It's like,
do you understand? It's like the elder brother, you know, I was like, I'm not going to live in London. So it was great that I found a really good school in Birmingham. And so, you know, I was also considering Canada and South Africa at the time, but like Canada. Yeah. That's a whole other story.
That's a different point.
But and for South Africa, I realized that it was going to take me 2 years to get my master's degree, and I thought that was a lot of time. Yeah. So I opted for the UK. My sister had moved here a few months, you know, earlier that year, and I just thought it would be nice to be, and a lot of my friends were moving here, no thanks to Global Talent Visa. So like, it just felt like a natural, you know, choice to move here. And I was like, you know what, let me just see what it would be like. If it works out, fine. If it doesn't work out, after my master's, I'll leave.
Just go back.
But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I like that I have a very, very balanced life, and it's just all of the basic things that I always wanted when I lived in Lagos, I have it here.
Like
so, what? I mean, so first things first, when I'm going to work, going to the market or whatever, I can easily take the bus from just across the road, and the bus takes me to the train station, and from the train station, I get a train, you know, I work in a different city, you know, go there, and, you know, just commuting is easy.
Yeah.
Electricity is constant. I have never had a blackout in almost 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, water is great, you know, great quality. Funny thing is, I work at the company that supplies me water, you know, so like, you know, life just feels easy. I don't have to worry about my safety, because that was something that I hated living in Lagos, in Nigeria as a whole. I grew up, you know, having to experience armed robberies and stuff like that. So like, you know, even living in Lagos, there were so many times where, you know, I would have to check the front door, the windows and everything before sleeping. I just never felt safe, you know. And like, I never have to worry about literally anything. I'm walking on the road at 11 p.m. and do not have to even think twice that, I might not be safe or anything. So it just takes away all of that unnecessary, you know, like there's certain things you shouldn't have to worry about, so you can focus on bigger things. In Lagos, I felt like I had to deal with those small things and big things on a daily basis. It could, before I moved to a service apartment in Lagos, it could be the gen just deciding to not work or not finding fault to buy. You know, it was just always something, and it was so tiring, you know. And I think that's just one of the advantages, you know, for me right now. I don't know how long I'll be here. I don't know if I'll probably want to go back to Nigeria, but for now, I'm just enjoying, you know, just the sanity and the joys of the very little things, you know. It's amazing for me.
That's an interesting journey. So you decided at the beginning of the year that, okay, you want to get a master's in the UK. I mean, you decided about the UK later, and then you were applying to schools. You applied to Aston University.
Yeah.
And then you got admitted?
Yes, I did. Got an offer.
How did you
them.
manage with funding? Because a lot of people in Nigeria are struggling with that.
Well, my dear, it was years of saving. And like, also my dad was very supportive.
Okay.
So, you know, I think the first thing he said the previous year when I told him that I had an interest in pursuing a career in psychology, he was like, don't ever let money, you know, be the reason why you don't do this. Don't think about money.
Yeah.
We'll figure everything out whenever there's a need for it. And my dad was my biggest hero, you know, throughout that period. I also had savings and all of that, you know, also made money from like the agency. So I'd worked in PR for a very long time and I'd made quite a lot of money and saved a lot of money. So that really helped. The school fees was a lump sum, but I know it was worth it. You know, having to like, you know, start afresh, you know, getting this apartment, all of that stuff. It was a lot of investment, but you know, I look back today and I don't regret anything. I think it was all worth it, and I'm grateful because, a lot of people don't have it, you know, this easy. It wasn't even easy for me, and a lot of people have it worse. So, like, I can imagine, and it's just.
Yeah, because there's a good number of people in like Lagos who would potentially want to do a master's degree, but the concern is oftentimes with funding. If you're like a top candidate, you could maybe get
a scholarship
funding or maybe a scholarship. And other people just have to, I don't know, raw dog it.
Yeah, I did have to apply for, you know, like partial funding, and I was glad that I got that. So I can't even imagine what it feels like to have to, that. You know, do all that by yourself.
Yeah, that's really good. So when you got to the UK, was this your first time outside of Lagos? Outside of Nigeria?
No.
Where had you been?
I had been to Dubai before. I had been to a few African countries. Okay. Yeah, but it was my first time in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the experience? What was it like?
I mean, it was cold. It was the first thing I thought. I was like, what? Because I got this like jacket, you know, and I came in with my hoodie and I was like, what? It did not work. Yeah. My sister was wearing a puffer jacket when she came to meet me when I got into town from the airport, and I was like, oh my goodness, I did not come prepared. But yeah, it was the cold first off. And then funny thing is, I came in on the day that the Queen, God bless her soul, was being laid to rest.
Oh wow.
So it was a bank holiday. There was no life in the city. Yeah. We had to walk to find food. Wow. You know, because like lots of businesses were closed and everything. But I also felt like it was the best day I could have come in, because it was almost like the city paused. Yeah. And I explored it, looked around, felt it, you know, took lots of deep breaths, and I was like, you're here. This is your new life. Yeah. Get used to it. And then the next day, everything started. But like, I really, really liked that day was like that. And I didn't just come and, you know, everything was crazy. Yeah. It was good. And I like that, you know, Birmingham was pretty easy to navigate. Yeah. I had to get into school that week, get registered and all of that. But it was really good. It was really good. There were no difficulties. I think by the following week, I had my fair share of crying because I was missing home. I was like, what did I just like do? Why did I just leave my life and just move here to start afresh? I think I was house hunting and I couldn't find a house, and I was just crying that night. Like, God, I hate it here. Because I just moved into a new apartment in Lagos even, you know, life was good. Yeah. And I decided to move here, you know. So many times I questioned that decision, but I think by the time I found my own apartment and I was settling in, you know, I was like, oh, life's not so bad anyway. I'm a city girl, but don't want city life. So Birmingham gives me, like it's like a best of both worlds type of situation. So for example, I live in the city center, but it doesn't feel like that. You see how quiet it is?
Yeah,
it's so serene and
calm.
Everything. But if we take a walk, just 5 minutes down the road, you'd be amazed. So there's like a whole life going on, around there. So I like it. So I can go out and about, enjoy the city, and then come back home and feel like I'm removed from it.
Wow.
Yeah, and like everything is so fast, Every time I go to London and I'm supposed to go somewhere and I look on the map and it says like 30-minute drive or 1 hour on the tube, I'm always like, what's going on? Yeah. That's the time it would take me to go from Birmingham to London.
Yeah.
Because everywhere here is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. If it's 20 minutes, then know that we're going to the outskirts of town, So there's like no traffic as well. And it's like everything just moves quickly. It's like,
London won't give you that.
No. Every time I go to London, I have to
you have to
brace myself for it,
That's interesting.
I mean, and London is fun, right? Definitely. It is fun. I remember my birthday last year, I said I wanted to spend that weekend in London, and I did with my friends, and we had a good time. I was going out and about and everything. It was nice. Yeah. But when that weekend was over, I wanted to be back in my quiet jiggets, because I don't think that can be my everyday life.
Continuous, So, I mean, you said Birmingham because of Peaky Blinders, but was that do you have any other reason?
It was actually because of the diversity.
Okay.
If you think of any race at all in the world, you'll find them here. And of course, London as well. Yeah. But like, I love that it was also a very diverse place. I don't think I can say that for Manchester as much as it is here. And diversity is very important for me. I want to be in the bus and hear somebody speaking Igbo at the back, or just be walking on the streets and hear someone speak Yoruba, because it feels like, oh yes, or someone speaking, a Ghanaian language or something. It's just, I love that. And that's the thing about Birmingham. Like, there are people from all walks of life here. It's a very, very, very diverse city. And, there was a day where the tennis court, and then someone came in from London to say hi to, one of the guys. I don't remember if it was Rufus or someone else. And then he was just surprised to see so many of us on the court. And then, when we're done playing, he was like, oh, this can't even be me in London, because my friends are like spread across London. It would take us a long time to like come together. Yeah. And then when we're all leaving, some of us were like, oh, see you tomorrow in church. And he's like, you all attend the same church too. I'm like, duh, because we also attend the same church. So it's really nice, because then you have a community, and it's not just a community that, you probably know or meet with for one thing. It's like so many things, right? Yeah. We're playing sports together. We're going to the same gym. We go to the same church. It's really nice to just kind of have that kind of community. Is another reason why I really like it. And like, just have people around you,
One of the things that, people will probably be wondering, and I'm wondering, is how you navigated the work, this thing. Because you need money to survive in the UK. Did your US job that you had while you were still studying when you first moved, was it like sufficient enough to keep you afloat, or did you have to get something else almost immediately?
Yeah, thankfully that kept me afloat. But unfortunately, about 6 months into moving here, that company folded.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was out of a job, right? And I was so grateful for that job, because, I didn't have to look for a job here while schooling, and they also understood that I was schooling. So it was almost like a part-time job, you know. I would work after school, right? But when I lost that job, I still had a few months of saving to go. But then I was so anxious because, around that period, people would then tell me, oh, it takes you an average of 5 months to get a job. Hello?
I need it now.
Hello? And I needed to focus on school, but I was also, worried about a job. So it was just a very, very crazy place to be in. And I was trying to make something out of product management, because I was also this person who has been known to like do a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
This was me trying to just be more stable.
Okay.
You know, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to give up on this, right? So I kept trying. I think I applied for jobs for about 3 to 4 months. It did not work. And then one day I had a very, very difficult conversation with a friend, you know, where she was like, you need to go back to what you're good at, what you're an expert at, what you've had years and years of experience at, because, you know, you've had just 1 year of product management and you've had 10 years of PR and comms. You know?
You can't beat that.
And I was like, yeah, but like, I really wanted to make something out of this, you know, yada, yada. And, you know, it's just like, just give it a try. At least see what happens. And the moment I started applying for like PR and comms jobs, I was getting interviews like mad. I was even the one being like, not sure I like that company, not sure I want that, And, you know, thankfully got this job, an interview for this job. And the person who interviewed was going to be the line manager for the role. Wow. And she was a person of color. And we're really connected. You know, it was a really nice conversation. I was like, okay, this is not bad. A few weeks later, I got invited for an interview. And I prepared really hard for that interview. And, you know, I was like, okay, cool. We'll just see how it goes. It was at Coventry. You know, at first I was like, I don't think I want to be traveling to Coventry for work. It doesn't make sense. That when I was coming. Exactly. It's like 20 minutes away. I was like, okay, cool. And then I went to the office. It was so massive. I was like, okay, these people are not playing. It reminded me of one of Google's offices in London. Wow. You know, that was what I thought about when I got in. It was so big, so nice and everything. And I had the interview. And even though, so I was interviewing for an internal communications role. All right. And even though I had never really had internal communications experience, I was able to sell my skills, transferable skills. So it's like, I've done this externally. Internally, it's a no-brainer. You know, so I sold myself and everything. The interview was over. They said they were going to get back to me. And they did in like 2 weeks. It was the line manager said she wanted to have coffee. I'm like, who just like randomly decides to have coffee with somebody? But I was also trying not to be too optimistic, so I'm not disappointed. But like, she had a conversation with me. She liked that, you know, I had studied psychology because I talked a lot about that and how that has kind of like informed the way I work now. And she really liked all of that. And, you know, she was like, how do you feel about, you know, getting an offer? I'm like, girl, are you offering me?
No, I'm gonna take it.
You better offer me. And I got the offer, which was incredible. And I was grateful really because it's like, this is really what I'm really good at doing. So why not? And, you know, I started at that job and started working. I was in charge of a whole department and still have been. And it's been incredible, right? Just first off, going from like all of the industries that I was, you know, working in. You know, I've worked in entertainment, I've worked in tech, you know, I've worked with like lots of like business organizations and all of that. And then going into water utility, it was a huge shift. Like for the first month, I did not know what was going on. I'm like, oh, you need to write this email. Okay, I can write. But like, what are you people doing? You know, it was so much to take in. And, you know, even my line manager would be like, I've been here for 2 years and I'm still learning. So like, just take it easy. I like being deliberate about things that I do. I think that I could have studied an MBA because I studied business administration for my bachelor's. And, you know, an MBA could have been amazing. I could have been working at some big organization or whatnot. But, I mean, I would not feel fulfilled. I was very sure of that, right? I wanted something that I would feel connected to, something that would also, you know, enable me to help other people or to create impact, you know, in different, you know, aspects of my life and all of that. So it was very important that I studied psychology, and it was incredibly hard. I'm not going to lie.
What was it like in uni?
So
working and schooling at the same time.
It was challenging, but you know, I had to learn to create a balance and a system and all of that. Studying itself was a lot because it was a lot of like new information. Jeez. So it's like, you can imagine when a person studied psychology in like undergrad for like 3 or 4 years, we did all of that 3-4 year work in 1 year. It was a lot of information. We had to understand every aspect and application of psychology. It was a lot of information to take in, but it was interesting. You know, every day I had to go to school, except for when there were certain courses I just did not like. But like every time I had a class, it was always exciting because there was something new to learn and all of that. So it was really good. I had to create, like I said, create a system around my work where I focused on school during the day. And then when I get back from school, you know, I'll do my work as a product manager, or if there was anything I needed to do with the agency. But I also had people working for me at the agency. So that was kind of sorted. But nonetheless, it wasn't that easy, right? Because you also have to create time to study. You have to do assignments. You have to read. So it was a lot. So it was like at every given point of the day, if I wasn't sleeping, I was doing something. A lot of my friendships suffered, you know, because like I just didn't have the time for anything. It wasn't easy, but
I mean,
I'm glad I did it.
I'm curious about, you said, because you mentioned your agency now.
I started thinking about Renee in 2021 while I was co-producing the Founders Connect show with Peaky. And so basically every time we wanted to interview a founder of some sort, you know, would do some research and all of that, just to know how we'd like to approach that conversation. And more often than not, you would not find all the information you need about the founder or the startup. Most times, it's only if they raised, you find something about them, you know, or something like that. And it was frustrating because I was like, why is nobody writing about these people, right? So we know that this person is building an amazing product. Why is the media not talking about it? Do you understand? And you know, I thought it was a problem, and it was even worse when we had to go to Ghana and Kenya to interview founders. And it's like, you know, if it's Nigerian founders, I can call Michael and be like, Shibi, you know this founder, I beg. Ghana and Kenya, we didn't know them, you know, so we had to rely on the information we found online. And I thought that was a problem. And so it became even, you know, more obvious, you know, when we went to Kenya, and this was in 2022, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this. But, you know, we survived nonetheless, because we are who we are. We make things work. And so that year, it was a founder that I met that kind of triggered the series of events that led to Renee becoming, you know, an agency, or even led to me, you know, deciding to focus on tech public relations. And it was Njoku Emmanuel. He's one of my favorite people until tomorrow, because that week, a story had just broken out on Tech Cabal about the 18-year-old CEO who had started, you know, a company, Laser Pay. I read about it. No, I had not even read about it. Peace had said, you know, I think we should interview this guy. He's also in Kenya. I think it was the African Tech, there was an event going on. I've forgotten the name now. And she said he was going to be in town. And, you know, I was like, okay, cool, let me go read about him. And that's when I came across that story. I was like, what? 18? How? I know what I was doing at the age of 18, you know? So we interviewed him, and it was really good. It's also one of the longest, you know, videos or interviews we have on Founders Connect. Yeah, and you know, he told his story, and it was so natural, the conversation he had with Peace. I really enjoyed it, you know, and as I was behind the camera, I kept saying, I want to work with this guy. Like, you see this story, we need to amplify this story, right? we need to inspire people to do what this boy is doing. And, you know, after that interview, had a chat with him. I was like, you know, when I get back to Lagos, I'd love for us to talk about this. And, you know, he was like, yeah, sure. And so between leaving Kenya, getting back to Nigeria, I was thinking, and I came up with a plan. And I hit him up. I'm like, I want to work with you. Yeah. I want to amplify your voice, what you're building, the problem you're solving, and here's the plan. And we started working, you know, and I didn't have a structure for what that work would look like in the grand scheme. It was just Njokri Mano, and he was all I cared about. And we started working together, and it was amazing. He was very responsive. You know, he loved storytelling as well. So it was just a natural collaboration. And we built a friendship, you know. And over time, as we're working, lots of people started, you know, reaching out to me and saying, oh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. But I wanted to keep it at first with just him and really, really understand, get some sort of success, you know, and then gradually started opening up to working with other people. And then I, you know, moved here and continued. I've almost shut down that agency twice.
Wow.
First, when I moved here, because I was like, what was I thinking? I knew I was going to move and start school. Why did I start the agency? But my executive assistant at the time, she was so, Susan, God bless you. She kept pushing me like, no, don't do this. You know what? Let's hire for this. Let's hire for that. And so, you know, we kind of hired for a couple of roles, you know, so people get stuff going while, you know, I focus on school and all of that. And we did that and, you know, officially launched in April 2023, which was 1 year after, you know, I started, right? And then, you know, started hiring a couple of, you know, interns, students reached out, I'm studying mass communication. I'm interested in public relations. I want to get some experience. I was like, okay.
I didn't think about how that could actually be.
I don't have the time to mentor you, but okay, you know, let's try. You know, I think I got 3 people in at the same time, which in retrospect, what was I thinking? But I was also nearing the end of school period. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And we did that. 2 of them were doing the industrial training, so like IT proper. And the 3rd was an intern who had just graduated and wanted to explore PR and comms. And we did that, more clients, and we just kept going, you know. And I kept telling them, right, we're not a big fancy agency. You see these agencies, just me and you people. But the most important thing I need you to know is doing the work. When you deliver what you promise to people, your life is going to be a whole lot better. Because when you give value, you will get anything you want in return. You just need to build that trust. You need to be that person that people know that if they go to, they know they will get what they want, right? And that's the culture that I decided to build. And I told my people then, I said, we're going to do this for 2 years. We're not going to pursue money or fame or anything or like the big fancy startups. We're going to work. It's very hard to work with new startups when it comes to PR. Because there's nothing to support you. There's no popular CEO or a big product that a lot of people use. It's like a new product that nobody knows. You're going to give it the visibility and credibility that it needs. That is the difficult work. And we did that for a long time. And of course, people came and left. The people who were doing their IT had to go back to school. You know, new people joined the team. I lost a lot of good talents who had to Japa. That was the most painful one, you know, because, a couple of people who were really good but had to leave the country because, But, you know, it's been that whole process of like growing and growing and growing. And when we were kind of doing like a review at the end of the year last year, you know, we're all really proud. Like, you know, we're not big, but we've done really significant work and like very impactful work. It is very important that it's impactful to the point where if a startup reaches out to us and they're building a product that doesn't feel like it has any impact on anyone, it's a no for us. If you're building a fancy product, we're not going to work with you, because we want to work with people who are solving very critical problems, right? So like EdTech, you're solving problems that would, fix the education system and sector in Nigeria. We're down for it. So there's a startup we work with like that, Scholar. We hardly work with fintech startups, especially when you're not solving a unique problem, because it's really just the same. I don't even think we've had a fintech company on our roster outside of LaserPay, and LaserPay was because it was Web3. They were solving cross-border, payment problems, and that's a significant problem. So impact is very important to us, and that's how we keep going. We're very careful with who we work with, and we make sure that whatever it is we're communicating or storytelling, whatever it is we're doing for you, it is it's changing a life somewhere. It's making life easier for someone somewhere, and that has just been like our value from day one. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done. It hasn't been easy. Renee is pretty much being run by Gen Zs. I'm like the oldest on the team. They're all like Gen Zs, and they're all like doing the work, and it's amazing to see.
Wow.
And I also want the agency to be a place where young people who are interested in public relations and communications can come and get some experience. There are lots of people who came in as interns and are leading big projects on the team right now. So I want it to be a space that people can come and learn. If you're curious, you come, you see how we work, you see what public relations actually looks like. And if it's a career path that you want to chase, then you go for it.
There are a couple of people that I'm sure are probably listening to this, and they're thinking of doing something similar to what you've done. Like leaving their home country through, the student routes and everything.
Yeah.
What would an advice for them look like? We've talked about your process, but what would you say is that one thing that, I don't know, maybe they should do, or they should know, or they should have?
I think first things first, you need to be ready for it to be a difficult process. Right. And like the reality, would vary, but I feel like if you're ready for it to be a difficult process and it turns out to be easy, brilliant. If it turns out to be difficult, you are mentally ready for it, right? Especially when you move to, not everybody's going to move to London or Birmingham or Manchester. If you move to, places where there are less people like you, or
my island.
And stuff. Exactly. You have to be ready to be by yourself, to learn things by yourself, and all of that stuff. I think it would also help to ensure that you're still connected to home, whatever home means to you, right? If that's family, if that's friends, it could even be a job, right? I know people who have moved here and still stayed at their jobs in Nigeria, and that kind of like held them, right? It would be nice to have that, right? It could also be a community here that makes it feel like home, but I find that, finding community really helps. That's one thing that really helped me, settle in quickly. Even if that meant going to London, I was going to London like every other weekend to be with my friends, but that made me feel like, I was home and all that. Money is very important here. Like you said, you have ridiculous bills depending on where you live to pay every month. And so you need to make sure that you have a steady flow of income. So for example, if you're thinking about moving, it is very advisable. It is really advisable that you have savings. You need to be able to take care of yourself in your first, 2-3 months of moving here, so that you're not just getting here and like already hustling. Do you understand? It'll be good to have some form of, security, and that, next 3 months I'm good. Because like, what if you don't find a job, quickly and all of that stuff? So that would be really helpful, because financial stability is one of the things that would keep you sane in this country. I remember in 2023 when I was running out of money and I'd still not gotten a job, I was losing my mind. Michael, I was losing my mind. I was sad. I would not open my windows. I just wanted to be, I was so angry and so sad. I probably would have said I was depressed, but I know better. I know I wasn't depressed. I was just really anxious and scared, so money is really important. A lot of times, we hear about like the kinds of jobs people have to do when they move here. And, it might feel like, especially when you have a really nice job in Nigeria, you're like, yeah, God forbid, not me. But you need to embrace the possibility of doing those kinds of jobs if you don't get what you need, right? Because one thing is you need to pay your bills. So you have to be able to do certain kinds of jobs. I'm grateful that I never had to do that. But I've also met people that had to. Like you just do not have a choice. So be ready to do certain kinds of jobs. You should have skills beyond even what your day job is. That's another thing that saved me, right? If I had not, invested my time into getting a product management skill and gotten that job, I would have not had that like very easy, landing that I had here. If I didn't have my public relations and communication skills, I would have not gotten a job. So it's like, there's just always something. And even before I got that job, I got the opportunity to lead a USSD research in Nigeria. And it was a combination of my skills in product management, project management, and research from uni, right? So it was all of these skills that came together, and it was a job that paid a lot of money. It was a lot of responsibility, but it was also a lot of money. And I know that tomorrow when that research is done and it comes out, I would be so proud, So you also have to be, you need to build a lot of skills that will save your life, literally. What else? I don't know. For those who are religious, I'd say my relationship with God really kept me going. Because like when I thought I was going to run mad, it was God that held me down, And at some point I was like, God, I'm tired of looking for a job. You need to give me a job. And I tell people that God gave me that job, because like I started going back to church. My church is just like 5 minutes walk away from here.
What's
by
the
the
name
way.
of your church?
Birmingham City Church.
Okay, I think I saw it.
Yeah, you most likely would have seen it. I started going to church. I, really improved my relationship with God and everything that just makes me feel, whole and all of that. And that really helped me. There's so many things, you could think of, but I think just being mentally prepared for how it would, literally uproot you from everything you've known and just put you in a space where you need to figure out so many things at the same time, will really help. Once you're prepared for war, whatever you see in the battlefield, you take it as it is and you act, so I feel like that's pretty much it.
I have one last question, and this is a very short one. Do you think it's ever too late to make that move? Especially in Nigeria, like masters.
It's never too late. I started my masters at the age of 31. If there's one person that I know that never cares about age or how too late things are, it is me. I every time rewrite my life and say, you know what, I'm tired of this phase. I'm going to rewrite my life. It's never too late. The most important thing is doing the things that you care about, having a vision, and being laser focused on that vision, right? After working in PR for over 10 years, I decided to start an agency. I had an agency before then, but it was an entertainment agency. Starting again, it's never too late. And, we're like almost 3 years in and we've done, amazing work. It's never too late. Going back to uni, I went to study my master's 7 years after my BSc.
Oh.
So you can imagine, having to now navigate school and do all of, but like it's never too late, you know. I decided to rewrite my professional, you know, career because I was somebody who had done so many things, and simultaneously I was like, you know what, I'm going to focus on just building one career path in PR and comms, and I've been doing that. It's never too late. My journey into psychology is a long-term journey, right? Because like I really want to immerse myself in everything that I need to know before I start to practice. So I'm going to go back to school in a few years, get another master's, then do a PhD. So you can imagine how long down the line that is. I probably would be nearing my 40s by the time I start practicing, and it would never be too late. I'll be such a cool doctor by then. Everybody would want to work with me. But like, it's really never too late, you know, to rewrite your story or to start a new life, you know, or to start afresh. It's you. You're the only person that will hold yourself back. Age has really nothing to do with it. As long as your brain is working, your hands and your legs, even if they are not working, trust me, there's still things you can do, you know. So
that's so good. Yeah, and I agree with that, to be honest, because it's also like, for me, the principle is usually something along the line of the idea of time is like, it's like a social construct. So when people say you don't have time, what do you mean by I don't have time?
Do you
mean
get...
like I don't have actual years? Because I have actual years.
Exactly.
Have, like,
so what exactly is it?
Or do you mean that by societal standards, I don't have time because I shouldn't be doing this at this age?
At this age.
That's probably what they mean. Because they don't mean you don't have time like you will die tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because
I guess so. But like, who really gets to decide what you do at certain ages?
Yeah. And who cares about that anyway? Because it's also like, it's you though. It's your life at this point.
Yeah.
You're no
and
longer
even if you only get to do it for a few years, it might be worth it, right? I have colleagues who are like 20 years older than me and working in the same role as I am. There's no such thing as age or anything. It's your ability, your passion. Those are the most important things. Really not the age.